Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. My man Anthony Schlegel here. It is the final day of practice for Improvement Week for the Buckeyes. Getting after it this week, early in the season. So we start off with Texas. It's kind of unique how they've had this ebb and flow where you come in, and usually it's kind of a gradual build. Well, in this case, they're starting off up here, and it was kind of like dip down, come back up. And now you've got to get some work done because you've kind of slowed down a little bit. But you've got to get work done heading into the Big Ten slate, knowing that you have Schlegs another bye week coming up here in about 3 weeks where they play Washington, 2 games, Minnesota. You have like 4 games and then another bye. So it's nice kind of how it cuts the season a little bit into thirds and how that's going to work. But you had to get some work in. So a nice long practice yesterday for the Bucks.
How was it? Did you get to go?
Yeah, I went over. I stayed for the whole thing yesterday. It was frothy. Yeah, they had a lot of reps. The players were taking bets on the over-under of the length of practice time. That's what was great. Sonny's terrific with it. And I'm like, I love you, Sonny.
He's like, we got 15 periods, boys. How long is this practice? 2 hours?
No, it wasn't 15 periods. And one of the guys goes, I feel like they're holding the clock. I'm like, yeah, they're holding the clock. There's like 5 plays left. I'm like, that's just what it is. I go, by the way, guys, you don't have a game this weekend, so you don't have any of those 20 hours that are counting towards the weekend. You're getting the weekend off, or at least most of it. They'll come back on Sunday and get into a real week. So tomorrow was the big deal. And then I was awesome, Schlegs, to listen to James after practice with the linebackers as they're talking. He goes, hey, a guy who coached Bobby and I used to always say this, the last day of bowl practice or the bye week or the last day before you're breaking camp, don't leave your cars running. And what is you know what that means? And one of the guys like, so don't run out of gas. He's like, just break it down. Just break it down.
He really said that. I mean, we all.
Oh yeah, because
we heard that all the time. Who was the one that always said that to us? It wasn't Tress.
No, it was Fick. It was Fick because D'Antonio used to say it, and then when he left, Fick just took it over. It was like, don't leave your cars running. Because that was mostly during bowl practice, like the last one before we got like 5 days off. Because it was so cold outside, like you wanted your car running because you go back out, it'd be 15 degrees again. So throwing that out there, so they're going to have another little frothy one today. So like, you should head on over there, might be an opportunity to check out some ball and see what's going on, if you will. So nice big practice for that as they work into this, planning how they're going to do their Washington schedule and everything next week. Because they have
I do like it. I like that they're going out on Thursday. I think it's good.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of when you go to the West Coast, go a day early.
Yep.
We would do that in the NFL. And Dallas, it wasn't as big because the flights weren't as far and you're only losing an hour. But from Eastern time, you get some of those long flights and you're losing 3 hours. Like that's a big, big deal. So Dallas was only 2, so it wasn't nearly as bad. And you were much closer, so the flights weren't as long. Half of it's like just sitting on a plane for 4.5, 5 hours. Like how bad you feel. Like you've got to get out and get moving. So that extra day to me always helped get you moving. So some nice news here. The NCAA doing some stuff with recruiting that we'll get to here in a minute. We're going to have our guy Ben Stevens on, which is going to make you a smarter player this weekend. But Schlegs, this is a little nugget that you found about your guy Burt Bielema. Ohio State's going to be playing Illinois here in a few weeks. I think they have Minnesota, and then I think maybe Illinois after that. In October, and your guy Burt Bielema doing some things there. Why don't you explain and why don't you lead in about what he's doing with recruiting when it comes to being able to keep players, retain players, and how that's going to work?
Yeah, go ahead, throw it up there, Pat. So I could probably put this. I'm gonna do the old copy machine, copy and paste into the group chat because I love you guys so you can see this. But, we were discussing, and yesterday we brought up in the side nugget at the end of the Doomajig, how much people are paying for the recruiting department that is college football now. And again, it is a business. And we saw some teams up there in the 5 millions going all the way down to the top 20. I think it went all the way down to 2.1 or 1.9 million. And Ohio State was not on that radar. And I think Mark Pantoni does a phenomenal job in their department, doing a lot with less and being very strategic in what they're looking for. Bret Bielema, and we talked about, it's like we were talking about what's a better job, Virginia Tech, UCLA, talking about the resources. And it's like, hey, Look at what Georgia Tech's doing. And then honestly, look at what Brett Bielema has been able to do in the Big Ten at Illinois and kind of getting them back. And I thought, again, what is your value proposition? And in all of sales, who are the gatekeepers when you're trying to close a sale? Who is the people that have the most influence on a decision from an athlete in their circle of people?
The third uncle.
It's he's the mom. And we did a women's clinic here under Urban Meyer and for breast cancer awareness and the Spielman Foundation and the Buckeye Cruise and all those things. But it was just interesting. One, they brought them to practice and they made the guys the moms and their sons go through like dynamic warm up and go through individual drills and then have them running the plays of their son. So mom being a wideout or a quarterback or a center or a guard and a nose tackle, like lining up, talking about the fundamentals and stance. The thing that really resonated for me was the moms saying that though he is doing a lot, they could text him. Now, regardless of it's him definitively texting them back or not, some of them like, I needed a ticket situation.
You think he had a chat bot, Schleiks, like on his phone?
No, I mean, but like he could only do so many things. But it was, hey, they got the ticket situation figured out. Or, hey, look at our guy. It's just the thought of who are the people that care about this athlete as much as we care about the athlete, which we do as coaches, guys. We inherently, even more so now that my children are their ages, we coach them as though we're coaching our own. We're trying to move them to their max potential as though they are our own. And just the snippet of, hey, look at our guy. He had an injury, but he might be on the Alter G and he's looking good. And like taking a quick video and sending that to the mom. That GSF for the athlete and the connection with the mom and the communication has been vital and why guys are staying, especially if they've been other places or if they've been there the entire time. It's just the connection, their own brotherhood, the GSF of the coaches for their athletes to the mom. It's been vital in how he's retaining players and continuing to develop those players at Illinois. I thought it was great. Like that's what they're selling. I'm here for your son. I'm going to communicate it to you. We have a vested interest in them to be successful because they know they're going to make us more successful, and you're a huge role of that, mom.
So basically, Schlegs, what you're telling me, it's a traveler's gift. Harry Truman, the buck stops here. Like you have an issue, text. Here's my number for you. Text me. Now maybe he's on that sometimes. Maybe he has somebody on it with him. But like if it's coming to me, don't text me. But like if it's important to you, then it's important to me. And I think that's a big deal. Yep. If you're able to pitch that to people, because I care about your son, so things that are important to you and important to him, then they're important to me. And that honestly, it's a value proposition that matters. People always talk about, it's all about the dollar bill, Schlegs, and all those things. And those things are important. They're there. But most parents, when their kids going to school, especially moms. Now, I love my mother, but I was like, hey, you can come with me. She did ask Tress. It was an amazing conversation that she asked him. Schlegs. We go in there, and my mom, she's
wonderful. Susie, she's an aunt. She's the best.
But she also raised, and I tell my wife this, like she raised an independent son. Like when I left, I was like, I'm leaving to go to school. I'll call and talk to you. I don't need you, but we'll talk. And I talked to my dad. I mean, it's hard. You know how hard it is, man. Your first year, it's rough. But like raised an independent son, but we're sitting in there with Tress in the coaches meeting, like the final one on Sunday on my recruiting visit. And she goes, why do you want my son to come here and play for you? And Tress gets in. He's like, well, I trust my coaches. They evaluate him. She's like, no, why do you want him to come here and play for you? And it was, I'm like kind of sitting down on my seat at that point.
Yeah, you're kind of like mom, like I really want to go here.
I was like, they can pull my scholarship offer, I think, if you actually, you know what, Mrs. Carpenter, we really don't want him to come here after all. It's a great question. After further conclusion, we're good. Good to meet you. Hopefully enjoy the meals. We'll see you when we see you.
I would say this, the best thing that he said in this article, Brett Bielema did, it's like, and this is where we are, and I hope the fans out there understand when you lose a prospect or you're in the running and whatever happened. But this is what he said. If you have a kid that you know it's all about money, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
But if I have a kid that you recruit and it's all avenues of his life, I think you will always have a chance.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's going to be, regardless of where you are. And do you want the Jimmys and Joes 100%? But you want to spend that energy, that time, that money into the ones that you know that you have a chance on, and that also fit your culture, which I think Ohio State does at an elite level. And it's just something that you're seeing from these schools that would, quote unquote, be developmental, still have a chance because they know how they want to recruit them and they know what they're looking for. And this is how Illinois is going about doing their business. I think it's very viable and relevant still in 2025.
It is. And I was telling people, you come for the money, you'll leave for the money. So like that's a tough process. You're always going to have to be the highest paying guy. Some other news, Schlegs, that we've got going here. We'll get into this more, but the NCAA did approve, if you want to throw that up, that the single transfer window.
Yep.
And one is better than two. Does the timing make sense? Maybe not as much.
No.
Maybe not. Okay.
No.
I haven't even told you the timing, Schlegs.
I read the entire freaking article. I read the whole doomaging. I'm putting this in the group chat so everybody knows what we're talking about.
So instead of the timing, which Schlegs is lobbying for, being in the having the timing be in the spring, like after spring ball, and then you know, because I didn't agree with this at first, but you sold me on it. It's amazing, Schlegs, in today's society, if you propose evidence to certain people, some people will change their mind. Now, not everybody, but yes, it'll be. I was changing my mind with you, but they're doing the single transfer portal, which is a win for college coaches, but they're doing it immediately after the season, Schlegs.
But it's not even immediately after the season. I think the reason why Ryan Day did not like this.
Well, after most of the season, there still are people playing.
And that is the problem. The problem with last year was the fact that you're trying to make a college football playoff run and you have people DMing. And again, they talk about it and elaborate it like it is egregious, the communication from third parties to people that are already on your roster as you're going through a national championship run in the college football playoff. Where this makes sense to do this window, where they have this window, is if you play the national championship game on the first Saturday of January and you bump the season up and the portal opens on Sunday for 10 days. Why do coaches want players to transfer in January? I'll tell you why. The secret sauce happens in the offseason that goes through spring ball, that goes through the summer, that leads into camp. Where it does hurt is the development of those guys that potentially have a chance. And then your roster at the end of spring ball, you kind of know where the voids are and what you need to do. However, to me, I'm okay with it being in January because you need to put those guys into a situation, whether it's in practice or a game, to validate where they are. And if you see the trajectory going to where they're going to have a chance, I got to continue to develop and be a coach, fine. If not, I need to look somewhere else. The problem is when you start, again, it's only a few teams because you're going to have the people that are in the semifinals and the people that are in the finals, right? So you're really only dealing with 4 teams, but you're putting the 4 best teams at a competitive disadvantage while trying to go win the ultimate prize of the season to where they're now still dealing with roster management during that time. That is my problem with this.
Yeah, I agree with you. More time with the team is better. How about this argument, Schlegs? This piece
Give
of
it to me.
They have the early signing period, but then you also have the late one, and you're already starting to portal guys in and out before maybe your roster is complete on the new guys coming in.
I know.
That's the other thing that I'm not a huge advocate of and a proponent of. Plus, they talk about, letting guys out for coaching firings and different things like that. If you just do a singular window in the spring, you're not never, but very rarely going to have to deal with spring coaching firings because that doesn't happen. Unless there's something egregious that transpires where you would open up, and those are off the field issues and everything else anyway. So That to me is a little bit wild.
So are you proposing that you would rather just have the one window be after spring ball in
Yeah,
that?
make it in May. Yeah, make it the last week of April, first week of May. That kind of solves most of the problems with it. And then, like you said, Schlegs, I think in part and parcel with that, if you have some legislation around the expansion of some of those OTAs, maybe you take a little bit from spring ball, put a little more in the OTA bucket where guys can have a ball, maybe just helmets on and like an hour a day, and you can have them, running through routes, running through their defenses, going through blocking assignments and stuff, so you can learn the game of the scheme without having to deal with all that.
So what you're saying, you're making it more NFL-esque, Bob. And again, based on what they decided, and I understand why the January, but if you are going to have one and you are going to make it to where you're putting your best teams at a competitive disadvantage, then to me, to your point, Bob, then I would say do it in the spring, because then at least you're not hurting the recruitment of the incoming freshmen, which it does, because you have those guys you're recruiting, plus you're trying to bring roster management. What you bring in after the fact is also going to dictate whether or not they want to go to your school, and now they're already tied into it without even being able to put a ball in their hand and see apples to apples of what you got on your roster. So based on what they're doing and the argument you presented, I would say I would be privy to have one and have it in the spring after spring football, and it will still coincide with the academic calendar to where they can finish their spring semester and then go to a new team. Do you miss a little bit of that team building stuff, the secret sauce that we love about college football? Yes, but it makes more sense to where they can give time, energy, and effort in the recruitment of the portal and the development of who they have coming in through spring ball to then say, this is when we do it. And it eliminates those other areas. So I agree with you. If you're going to have one, I would have it there. Ben Scott Stevens, 3 guys.
Yes.
One name.
All 3 of them coming in. One name, 3 dudes joining us next. I want to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here. They've got an offer for you don't want to miss. New customers bet just $5. You get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, unlock $300 all across the app. Player parlays, or build parlays, player props, ride the live lines. It's all there for you. Whatever your style, FanDuel, they've got you covered. They've got the NFL season is here. Week 3 is on the cusp. The only question is, are you ready? Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 older and present in Ohio. Must be 21 older and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now withdrawable bonus bet, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ben Scott Stevens will give you all the news and nuggets for your betting life this weekend. Coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. We've got our guy, Ben Scott Stevens, who's kind enough to join us every Thursday. Does a great job.
Look at that guy. Look at that guy. He's got pendants on the wall.
In the center of the Big Ten universe out there in Los Angeles. Ben, thank you for joining us, sir. We appreciate it. And you're going to be right in the middle of Big Noon. I mean, it's going to be right California adjacent almost. A nice 10 a.m. start local time for Texas Tech and Utah. A big game. Dan Pierce looked really good. Texas Tech has been as advertised as well. That's going to be a fun one to dive into right off the jump.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Bobby. When you said Big Noon, I thought you meant where I am out here on the beaches of Los Angeles, close to downtown LA. You meant Big Noon of Sunday when Michigan State and USC are still playing come Eastern time, because it's an 11 p.m. Eastern time kick, 8 p.m. Pacific, though, out here on the West Coast. That's prime time for me, so should be all good. Let's dive into that huge matchup in the Big 12 between Texas Tech and Utah. And Bobby, I think as you start to look at this game and you see the Red Raiders at home, or excuse me, on the road as an underdog taking on this Utes team, there's a lot to dive into. Utah last year, straight up at home, just 2-4. Not great. Not the standard under Kyle Whittingham, but we have seen that resurgence of Utah football this year. Dominant up front on both sides of that line of scrimmage, offensively, defensively, bringing that physicality, and a quarterback in Devin Dampier that has been as good as advertised. Much like John Mateer in Norman. Dampier transferred from New Mexico, but with the same offensive coordinator in Jason Beck, and those two guys have not skipped a beat. Multiple touchdowns for Dampier in all 3 games he has played for Utah. On the other side, we haven't learned a ton about Texas Tech just yet. They hammered Oregon State last week. They allowed 0.4 yards per pop on the ground to the Beavs. I think when you look at this game and you are seeing 2 scoring offenses that are bringing it right now, Dampier and the Utes, everybody for the Red Raiders, Baron Morton, one of the highest passing quarterbacks in college football, to the opening 3 full Saturdays of this year. You look at the total, you see 57 and a hook, and you say to yourself, well, maybe, just maybe, this is an old school Big 12 shootout, points, and more points. I actually think we are going to see the defenses carry the water in this game. We have not seen these defenses against the best offenses on the other side, but there is so much talent there, both for Utah and Texas Tech, when you dive into the numbers. If I had to lean away in this game with a firm 3 in favor of the Utes at home, believing in Utah, but also have a Big 12 championship price on Texas Tech, I'm actually going to trust the under of 57.5. I think this game gets into the 50s, but not past 55 or so.
I'm just writing down in our show sheet. Ben says under. Ben says under. Take that bet. Let's go to another one. Auburn, OU. What do you got? Is this the Heisman moment for him? Who's winning this game?
Yeah, Schlegs, it's a really good question because we have seen so much betting handle, both public and some of the sharper wagers at sports books like Circa love Oklahoma in this spot. Line opened on Sunday afternoon at 5.5. It's now 6.5, approaching a touchdown in favor of the Sooners at home. And again, if Devin Dampier and Jason Beck have been as good as advertised and have not skipped a beat, it's the same story for a Heisman Trophy favorite in John Mateer under the offensive scheme that he knows very well with Ben Arbuckle, his new OC at OU. When you look at this game, though, for me, the way that things have been constructed for Auburn in that great Week 1 win over Baylor, 38-24, Jackson Arnold on the ground, sensational against his former team in Norman on Saturday. I think Oklahoma, if you really start to peer into the numbers, and something we had discussed, and one of the reasons I was high on OU in the offseason, because I expected the offense to be there with Mateer and Arbuckle still together now in Norman, but a really good Brent Venables defense last year, that some of the overall averages or volume for the Sooners defensively didn't look outstanding nor elite, but really when you dove into it, were really stout. We have seen that once again for Oklahoma. One of 3 teams so far this year to allow fewer than 20 points. The other 2 FBS programs, pretty darn good defenses, as you guys know, in Columbus with Ohio State and in State College with Penn State. Oklahoma and Ohio State, the only 2 teams in college football allowing fewer than 100 yards through the air on average and on the ground. I'm trusting the Sooners to force Jackson Arnold to beat them through the air. Arnold in the game against Ball State, 250-plus passing yards, multiple passing touchdowns. In the other 2, where Auburn has been a little bit more tested, although a great win against the Bears, Arnold fewer than 150 yards through the air against both Baylor and South Alabama a week ago. I think Oklahoma makes them beat them vertically for a guy in a scheme that knows Jackson Arnold very well and what Brent Venables dealt with the last few years. I'm trusting Oklahoma to win this football game. I don't love where the line is working, so I won't have a full wager on it. But if you're asking for a pick, Oklahoma wins by at least a touchdown at home.
Oh, I like it.
Ooh, OU, I'm putting it down.
Before we get to some of the night games, one more big battle out in the Midwest. Feels like it could be a little bit of a breakthrough game for Matt Rule at Nebraska. Ben, I mean, it's a super tight line. I know there's been a little bit of movement around it. I don't know what you're seeing it right now, But how do we feel about the Wolverines heading into Lincoln?
Yeah, Bobby, it's a game that I am so excited for. It is a monumental Saturday in the Big Ten. I'm sure we will discuss Indiana and Illinois in just a little bit. But this game, week number 4 for the Maize and Blue and the Huskers, I think defines 2025 for both teams, where they go from here. Is Nebraska going to finally capitalize on the optimism that we see each and every offseason, but certainly for year 3, Matt Rule? Will the Maize and Blue, with a relatively easy Big Ten slate, be able to get to 9 or 10 wins with Bryce Underwood in year 2 under Sharon Moore to be a college football playoff contender? I think we learn a lot come Saturday afternoon in Lincoln. This is a game, though, that Nebraska needs to continue to change the narrative. As we saw week 1 against Cincinnati, when they often squander opportunities, they finally made a play when it mattered most to ice away a win. This is a game in the last 5-10 years the Huskers do not win. That's not hyperbole. Nebraska has not beaten a ranked opponent in 27 consecutive games facing a ranked opponent. The last win versus a ranked foe who was ranked at the time, the Oregon Ducks, back in 2016. So long ago, guys, that Oregon was a member not of the Big Ten, but the Pac-12. That is what Nebraska has to deal with. Now, from the key matchup perspective, can the Huskers contain Bryce Underwood and Justice Haynes? Underwood last week in Ann Arbor against Central Michigan, 114 yards on the ground, multiple rushing scores. Sure, that is the chips, but Nebraska has not looked great defending the run, as we saw against Brendan Sorsby and Cincy in that opener in Arrowhead. He had 86 yards on the ground in multiple rushing scores as well. That is the task for the Huskers, to contain Michigan's ground game that looked really good with the athleticism of Underwood last week. And, of course, Justice Haynes is a top 5 running back right now in college football. If Nebraska does that, I'm calling for the small upset that could be monumental for the Huskers. If Michigan brings that physicality in game number 2 under Biff Poggi, then I think Michigan survives on the road.
I'm curious, Ben, and you probably don't know this offhand, when the last time Nebraska started 4-0 would have been as well, because I feel like that's probably around a decade, probably ringing in right around that decade time as well.
I think 2016, which was my first year there in Omaha, Nebraska, covering the Huskers. 2017 wasn't bad either, though. They actually might have started 9-0. No, they didn't. 2017 was bad. That's when Mike Riley got fired and Scott Frost came in. I think so. If I'm doing my math
2016.
right. I think 2016. Because I remember the Oregon game, 35-32. Nebraska came out on top against the Ducks. And then I think they started 7-0, and it was a top 10 game in Madison against Wisconsin, and they got absolutely blitzed out of Camp Randall and just out-physicaled by the Badgers.
Yeah, so big one. You go 4-0, you got a Michigan winner there. That would be huge. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We have more back with Ben, break down some of those big night games here coming up next. But first, I want to tell you our friends over at Backer with Elite Apparel for you. You're going to love it. It's BCKR.com. They've got all the premium brands now. They've got the best fan gear around. You're going to look good in it. You're going to feel good in it for wind, rain, or cold. They have you covered. Hats, coats. It's all good. It has all the features of all the high-end outdoor gear that you're looking for, whether you're trying to golf, hunt, fish. It is for you. So use promo code all caps Bobby at checkout, BOBBY. That's BOBBY for free expedited shipping. Again, BCKR.com. We've got more with Ben Scott Stevens coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
I'm more with Ben Scott Stevens here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. And listen, fire your questions away. If there's something you want to know, we'll get it to him. The battle in Florida, it's wild because looking at the spread on that, Ben, the Gators, are they taking on? Yeah, they are heading to Miami.
Yeah.
And it's about a touchdown line. I expected it to be at least 10, given kind of how they've looked the last couple of weeks.
Bobby, first off, let's just talk about your modeling career that I didn't know you had. You looked
Look at
absolutely
that.
stunning in some of that gear right there.
Good on
Was that
you.
Fozzie Whitaker from Texas as well?
I think so.
Wow.
I think that was Fozzie. Yeah.
First off, Bobby, if that was filmed in like July, the tan, my man, you look bronze. Fantastic. Great work. We got to get Schlegs out there next to really round out the campaign. All right, back to Florida and Miami. And it's Bobby, it's interesting you mentioned the line first and foremost, because to me, it almost has me wanting to jump back in with the Gators. Call me crazy, but this line opened at 8.5 on Sunday afternoon in favor of Miami. More than 65% of the handle all week long has steadily been on the Canes, and yet the line is working closer to a touchdown. A little bit of buyback, perhaps, in favor of the Gators. Still booked as more than a touchdown underdog in Hard Rock, but still some buyback in Florida. Now, you might be asking yourself, why? Is it just too many points? Are the Gators a bad football team and they will get hammered by a Miami team that has looked great this year in the victory against Notre Dame and even last week against South Florida, completely shutting down everything that USF was trying to do on the ground and win that game handily 40-12. There's two things for me in this game that I think are worth speaking about. For the Gators, first and foremost, DJ Lagway has been awful. 5 interception game last week in Baton Rouge against LSU. We saw it. We know it. But how many points did UF allow? Oh, only 20? Despite their quarterback throwing 5 INTs and giving up many short fields to an LSU offense that should be dynamic and high-powered. That's a story for another day. But the Gators defense, despite the struggles in a 1-2 start, has only allowed 3 total touchdowns. Florida's been pretty good on that side of the football. And speaking of that defense, Carson Beck last week against South Florida, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oh, what's that other stat? 2 interceptions. 5 times last year, Carson Beck threw multiple interceptions, 4 of those 5 coming against a ranked foe. The Gators are no longer a ranked team by any stretch of the imagination. But if that Florida defense can turn over Carson Beck, and if the Gators can finally get going offensively, which will be difficult against the Miami front that has looked great, but run the ball with Jaden Ball. He's a hell of a running back. Give him some opportunities and take the pressure off of Lagway.
Yep.
Something about the line movement, something about this spot. I'm not thinking Florida wins outright to save their season and maybe Billy Napier's job, but I think they can keep it within a touchdown. I know I'm crazy, but I might have to buy back in one final time.
Sorry, I wrote it down. Ben, Gators D is real. Take Florida with the points. Look at that.
Schlegs, careful. I went 0-4 last week. I got
That's okay.
hammered last week. Just because I'm giving you the knowledge does not actually mean it always comes through. But I trust in you to use your best guidance there when you're looking at those bets.
Well, this kind of goes into the next one out because I know Bob was going to hit up Illinois, Indiana, but like one game that has like a feel to it. And even Lane Kiffin said some things about their head coach, but like you got Tulane going to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss, you beat UK by a touchdown. You beat Arkansas by 6. Tulane beat Northwestern. They're terrible, but they boat raced them. And they beat Duke at Duke. And then you saw South Florida get beat by Miami like they did. Is this the best group of 5 team? And can they go to Ole Miss and get an upset here?
Going to be tough to get the outright upset, Schlegs, but I'm really interested in this game to see who is starting at quarterback for Ole Miss. Is it Austin Simmons, who played last week through a touchdown in relief of Trinidad Chambliss, but then also maybe injured himself even further? Will it be Chambliss, the Ferris State transfer, who looked sensational last week against Arkansas? But I might argue that the Green Waves defense is a little bit better than that of the Hogs. And the quarterback for Tulane, after we saw a team last week led by Taylon Green, who is the nation's leading rusher at the quarterback spot, trample all over this Ole Miss defense that last year allowed 80 yards per game on the ground through 3 games this year, is allowing 194. 194. And you look at Jake Retzloff, who, what did he do last week? How many rushing touchdowns? 4? Yeah, 4 rushing touchdowns for the BYU transfer. That looks in full command of this Tulane offense. Not necessarily through the air, but certainly is a dynamic athlete on the ground. I think Tulane keeps it within the number. Ole Miss wins outright. The Green Wave keep it within the number. I think it will be a small notch on the resume belt for Tulane in that group of 5 consideration as we get closer to the college football playoff. The Green Wave right now, Schlegs, the favorites to win the American. And as for John Summerall, by the way, now in year 4 as an FBS head coach, fourth best winning percentage in the sport of active FBS head coaches, only behind Ryan Day, Dan Lanning, and Kirby Smart. Pretty good company there for Summerall.
Yep.
All right. We're getting short on time, so we're going to pick the big NBC Peacock matchup, Illinois and Indiana. Both of these teams undefeated. Indiana last year, backing up a big season. Illinois starting really strong and now ranked in the top 10. IU favored in this one. What do you like?
Yeah, Bobby, not only favored, but the market loving the Hoosiers. This line opened at 4.5. It is now approaching a touchdown, 6.5 in spots in favor of IU. It is the biggest home game in the Rock in nearly 30 plus years, maybe of all time. The 8th ever ranked versus ranked game that Indiana has hosted. The first time the Hoosiers have been ranked and are hosting an AP top 10 foe. I'll keep it short. Key matchup in this game. You guys know my thoughts on the Illini. Part of the reason I am in love with Illinois to win 10 games for a second straight year and get to the college football playoff is that returning talent. That included the offensive line. But yet the offensive line has looked a little bit shaky for the Illini. They've allowed 9 sacks this year, third worst among power conference programs. Indiana up front has been causing havoc. 33 TFLs as a team, the most in FBS college football. If J.C. Davis, the all Big Ten returning performer at left tackle, and the rest of that Illinois front five can keep Luke Altmaier up, who has played clean, I'm going to trust Illinois to stay within the number in what I expect to be a one-score game. We haven't learned a ton about Indiana just yet this year. I think both of these teams are really good football teams, but I'm a little bit higher on the Illini. Brett Bielema and Illinois, 12 outright wins as an underdog since Burt became the head coach in 2022. That's 5th most among power conference programs. Give me Illinois in a small upset in Bloomington.
I love it. Ben, thank you so much, sir, for your time. Enjoy it. Enjoy the sunshine out there and enjoy watching that USC-Michigan State game on Saturday because we'll be watching it on Sunday.
Yeah, well, no, let's FaceTime, guys. I know you're going to be up at 11:30 p.m. Eastern time when we get to kick in the first quarter. Come on.
I've got homecoming for my kids. They'll be having parties. So, yes, I will be up watching it with a drink in my hand, making sure that there's no nonsense going on. So, absolutely, sir. Have the best. Enjoy it, and we'll catch up again next week.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
See you, bro.
All right, I want to tell you about our friends over at Export. Parents and athletes protect what matters most with Export mouthguards trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. They're scientifically tested to help absorb the high-impact hits to protect your teeth and brain. They've got 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented carbon fiber for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby Day. Save 15% on your order. Protect what matters most. And then this Saturday, Schlegs, at the Armory, 9 to noon, I want to say.
Yeah, 9 to noon, baby. 9 to noon, baby.
Coach Tom Ryan, the head wrestling coach for The Ohio State University and a national champion, will be out there as well speaking. So make sure you get out there and listen to him. He is a true gem. We've got our headlines coming up next with a little Lift It or Leave It.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
So if you're looking to scale your marketing, let the Lake Spur marketing team be your guide. They are a trusted marketing agency that you want to look for. They have a broad range of experience. Regardless of the industry, they can help you out. Lake Spur Marketing prides themselves on helping to build partnerships and connectivity. They're confident they deliver the results. More importantly, it's all about the relationships with their clients. They're going to work with you to get exactly what you need done. Lake Spur Marketing, the proof is in their partners. Visit lakespurmarketing.com today. All right, Schlegs, lift it or leave it. Big Ten will get 4 teams into the college football playoff. As of now, there are 4 teams in the top 10. Which of those 4 is most likely to miss?
I think we have the big one right now coming up, and that's the Indiana-Illinois game. That's going to be one of the deciding factors in this. I mean, I think you have Ohio State looking really good where they are and what we've seen from a talent perspective. Penn State really hasn't played anybody. Oregon looks really, really good. They look really, really good. Again, you don't know how good Oklahoma State is, but they boat raced a group of four or Power Four conference team.
They've been scoring a lot of points, and they've got
a
pretty good schedule. They play Penn State, I think, next week. So we'll find out about them. Thing is with Illinois, if they win this week, then they have USC at home. And if you can win,
play Ohio State.
And then they have Ohio State. But outside of that, Schlegs, you're looking at Purdue, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern. Honestly, I would like to think Illinois, if they lose this week, there's a chance that they don't get in. At 10-2, I'm not sure. 11-1 with only an Ohio State loss, and you have a victory over Indiana, assuming they don't fall apart, and a victory over USC, which could be good. But I think the Big Ten gets in 4. I think Illinois, the easy answer is they're the most likely to miss it, given the fact that the other 3 teams were in it last year. One was the 1 seed. The other 2 were in the semifinals. All right, on to the next. Lift it or leave it. Georgia Tech will go undefeated in ACC play. They just beat Clemson in a big upset last week at Bobby Dodd.
Yeah, what are you thinking here, Bob? I mean, I really like what Georgia Tech is doing from a defensive standpoint. I like their physicality. The biggest thing with the Georgia Tech guys is, can they stay healthy?
Yep. Can Haynes King stay healthy? That's the real,
because he's the mover, right? It's like, hey, Haynes King for Heisman. Yeah, he does the most for their team, but he has to be able to stay healthy if they're going to have a chance.
So you look, they don't play Miami. They don't play Florida State. They've got Wake, Virginia Tech, who just fired their coach. Duke is pretty good. Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, Pitt. They finish up with Georgia, who's not in the conference. I think they could be the second ACC team. If they run the table, though, they're going to get into the ACC championship game. And last year, they almost beat Georgia Slice. Remember that at the end of the season?
I do remember.
They played them really tough. And I think if they would even lose to Georgia in a 1-score game, the committee almost counts that as like a pseudo win for them.
Right. And here's your question. When you go back and you look at their schedule, they've already beat the toughest team on it that's in the conference, right? And you got Wake, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, BC, Pitt. Pitt just lost to West Virginia. Georgia, obviously not in the conference. They win the rest of their games. They're in the conference championship game, probably against either a Miami or a Florida State right now, as we look at them, Miami being the better of them, but they still got to handle Florida. Again, not out of conference, but what does Miami really look like having the Gators come to them? They can beat it. So can they win the rest of their conference games? 100%. Do they win the conference, which was the question? It's who are they playing? And it all is predicated upon King being healthy in the conference championship game.
If they beat Duke, I think they win. I think they make it to the conference championship game. We'll see ultimately if they win it. All right. That is it for our tailgate talk. That is it for our headlines. We have our tailgate talk coming up next, Legs. And you know what? Maybe we'll drop another lift it or leave it in there depending on the questions. So stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome into our tailgate talk. We answer your questions, Schlegs. The Rod Farva, a lot of questions about Jimbo talking in here about what he should do, Jimbo Fisher. The Rod Farva threw out there, if I'm Virginia Tech, I'm swinging big and calling Jimbo Fisher. I honestly don't hate that call if you're Virginia Tech. Now, how motivated is he to do that? Like I do some XM with him. Is that something he wants to do at this point? That I think culturally that would be a fit for him. That would make sense. Someone said, Troy V threw in there, Jimbo should go to UCLA. Well, he's due for another buyout soon, but I don't think Schlegel's Jimbo Fisher would be a cultural fit at UCLA. I think he would be in Blacksburg and can probably, I don't know about completely get them back to Frank Beamer status, but I think that they would be a much more competitive unit.
I look at both of those schools being polar opposite. When I'm a coach and I'm looking at where can I have success and longevity, Virginia Tech to me is a better play because, one, you're in a weaker conference than the Big Ten. Two, you have a pipeline to the East Coast and the Midwest because in proximity, you're still somewhat relevant and you can still touch the South, which those are the areas that he knows recruiting best, more so than UCLA. And also, he likes to ride his horses, and it's a little bit easier transport and being able to find space and green grass in Virginia than it is in LA.
I think that's accurate, Schleichs. Thing is, like, their conference is easier to win, but you also don't have as much money in there either to be able to do stuff with.
Similar to Georgia Tech, and they're making it work. And how are they making it work? They're keeping guys there.
They are. You keep guys there, you keep guys juiced up, and you get them firing. One last one, Schleichs, that we're going to throw in here will be a lift it or leave it question.
Yeah, do it.
Notre Dame winless, 0-2 in week 4. Should they still have been ranked?
They've lost their 2 games by a combined 4 points versus ranked teams. But it is difficult to say that a team with no wins is still in the top 25.
I get it.
Put it in there.
I
understand why they are.
Yeah.
But from an aesthetic, like looking at it, it does not make sense.
I get it, Schleichs. It's a tough one, but I'm with you too as well, where, listen, they've lost to 2 really good teams that could have went either way, and they were playing for a national championship last year.
They had a holding call that completely got missed on their interior defense lineman. That was so egregious. The guy tackled the dude's right leg.
Oh, yeah. He beat him clean. All right, that's it for our tailgate talk. Coming up next, we'll wrap up the show with the parting thoughts of one Mr. Anthony Schlegel. All right, Schlegs, wrap it up. You got 30 seconds.
Hey, 30 seconds. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't like the portal window. I think I'm waiting for the czar of college football to make sense of everything. Or, side nugget, hire the general and the first sergeant, and we will get a whiteboard, some monsters, and we will be able to sell everything and make this a staple. We'll renegotiate all TV contracts. Everybody will be on board. Everybody will be a winner, and we will have one portal.
We haven't even gotten into that. Some comments with Ted Carter in Ohio State and what they're looking at. We'll talk a little bit more of that tomorrow, maybe, of some of the things with the TV contracts. So you're going to be my NCO, Schlegs, right there with me. I like it, dude. Just even with the college degree and some Air Force background, you're going full enlisted. Be my
I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier, Bob. That's how God made me.
Sergeants getting it done. Battlefield promotions aplenty. We appreciate it. We'll catch you up tomorrow, get you going into the bye weekend here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.